Hey everyone, James with the chair from the StarCraft 2 Garden side to bring you a quick tactics video on the siege tank available to the Terrans in StarCraft 2. So these rather interesting units here. As you can see, they've got a little bit more health than the average Terran unit, but yeah, they're still a little bit fragile, especially for a vehicle. They're produced from the factory in attached tech lab there, and of course, yeah, they have very important upgrade, the siege tech upgrade, which is needed for them to go into siege mode. So siege tanks are a rather curious unit. Unlike the tanks of today, they don't have defensive machine guns, smoke launchers, or anything really apart from their main cannon. And yeah, they actually, interesting enough, they also do more damage to single units when they're in regular mode as opposed to siege mode. But of course, usually you'd want to be using them in siege mode, to say the least, if only because they get quite a bit more range. And yeah, they also start doing splash damage as well once they're in siege mode. Yeah, in siege mode, their weapons range is actually slightly more than their sight range. So you want to use units such as Vikings, Marines, that sort of stuff, in order to spot ahead of what's actually happening.
No one lives forever.
And yeah, it's actually possible to use tanks before they get into. I'll just try to keep it together. Yeah, before they get into there we go, into siege. Well, before we get the siege tech up research, as long as you have a few things like supporting Marines, as well as a couple of SCVs to repair your tanks as they take damage. So yeah, it's possible, yeah, to use them in such a role. Although yeah, you have to make sure that your opponent doesn't see them coming too soon. Otherwise, yeah, the rush will most likely fail, and yeah, you'll probably have to keep them back for until they can get siege tech. Yeah, speaking of which, yeah, when in siege mode, they're pretty good for offense and defense, but yeah, you usually want to use some buffer units. Of course, you want to use more Marines than this. But yeah, once they do get into siege mode, they can inflict quite a bit of damage, to say the least. Well, actually, the opponents have retreated from their massive range. So yeah, basically, as you can see, when you have the tank selected, you can see their ranges indicated by the not the yellow, sorry, the white dashed circle little arrows there as well. So yeah, just make sure you have buffer units such as Marines, possibly even Thors against air units, Marauders, that sort of stuff. As the siege tanks are pretty vulnerable if left to their own devices, since they can't target air units, of course. And of course, since they can't actually target units that are right next to me, they have difficulty actually doing that. And one thing to keep in mind as well is that they inflict splash damage on both enemy and friendly units, so you don't want them to be engaging units that are in melee with your own units, or close proximity to your own units, for example.
You ready for war?
So there you have it. Siege tank, usually a tank that's seen pretty often, and yeah, just have to make sure to keep it defended, and yeah, to make sure that you don't have your tanks caught out of siege mode in a critical moment. So just have to watch out for that too, and yeah, just spot for them as well, so they can make the most out of their massive range as well. So let's check out the StarCraft 2 Garden site for more information about the Terrans, and until next time, this has been James with Vid, signing off.